It's Chris here. Now this version of the video is the edited version. It's some highlights. If you'd like the full video about spreadsheet projects, then I'm asking you to sign up to our mailing list. Now on the mailing list, I'm going to send you the full version of this video. I'll also get you privileged information about live streams, some paid products we're going to have coming out later in the year, exciting stuff like that. I won't be bombarding you with email, just the most important information. So get signed up to the mailing list. I'll send you the full version of this video. With that said, let's get into it. Welcome to your complete guide to spreadsheet projects. This video is about sharing my experience, conveying what I've learned over the years, getting you thinking about how to manage a spreadsheet project properly in order to get the outcomes you want. And this video should be useful for people who are just starting out. Maybe you've got a little project you're doing informally for a friend, right up to a more seasoned practitioner if you want to reflect and try to improve on your practice, as I'm always trying to do. Hopefully this video is going to be useful for you as well. It's not always the super glamorous code and formulae. Quite often we're just copy pasting information. My brother who works in university, always complaining about moving data for student reports, for example. Very manual process, going through files, moving data around. That I would call data manipulation, of course. There we can use our magic coding skills to get things done literally at the click of a button. So Chris, which one should I focus on if I want to maximize the impact of my skills? I would say data manipulation, moving data around, using VBA. This is the best one to focus on. Not a lot of people can do that. Quite a lot of people can do formulae. Quite a lot of people can do pivot tables. You can make yourself distinctive in the marketplace by being able to move data around using VBA. So you would be surprised how many projects require relatively simple Excel techniques. Now, looking at the channel, you might be thinking, oh, if I'm an Excel consultant, I'm going to be doing VBA every day. I'm going to be using Power Pivot every day. In my experience of 10 years doing this, that's not often the case. In fact, I would say most projects require a relatively small, narrow subset of techniques that we might consider simple techniques to do that. If this is not happening, we want to do this. Then lookup formulae, particularly VLOOKUP, that allows us to look into a database, find a row, return a piece of information from the same row. Then match and offset. These are how much do I need to know in order to get started? And sometimes people say to me, can you send me a list of all the things in VBA so I can learn it so that I can start VBA? Now I say to people, listen, you don't need to know everything in order to get started. In fact, you only need to know a small subset of techniques in order to get started. I only know a subset of techniques and I know how to apply them well. You can learn the techniques and the applications on the channel. What are those techniques, broadly speaking? Well, the interpersonal skills are probably more important than the technical skills. What do I mean by that? Well, the interpersonal skills allow you to talk through the situation with the client. They allow you to find the right applications of the tools and techniques. You can know all of VBA, but if you can't find the right applications, that only comes through interacting with a client, then you won't be able to really exploit your skills. So wanting to help, wanting to solve all the problems, wanting to get into the application, and this is something I learned over time. You've got to rein that in so that what you're promising is actually deliverable. You're probably getting the sense that I learned a lot early on in my career. Certainly when I got the company started about 10 years ago, I was doing projects here and there, and 2 or 3 of them were just not successful. And I learned a lot from that, and my success rate is much higher these days. But I'm trying to share some of the things I learned from those kind of tough experiences. This is what the client wants. For example, the client wants a data analysis. That means I'll have to do a pivot table. This is what the client wants. The client wants all of this data collated into a single file. That means I'll have to do some data manipulation. Okay, so you've got the requirement and the technique. But always remember, you've got to under-promise and over-deliver. One thing I try to do, which I don't always manage to do if any of my clients are watching, but if I say, yeah, you're going to have the file Monday week 2, I get it to them Friday week 1. I worked on a project back in a few years ago. And so we were going through the process of getting some feedback on what I'd done. And this customer went and showed the file to a big group of people, to must have been 15 or 20 people, and then in some detail documented what each person thought about the file. So as the consultant, you've got to be thinking, well, is it really possible to implement all of that feedback? So all of these things you've got to be thinking about and managing when you're in your first client meeting. As I said, if you're just listening to this presentation, you're much better placed than I was when I was having my first client meetings. Good luck with it. It's nervous, but it's the best thing. The best thing in business is having people wanting to have meetings with you and hearing about what you offer. So hopefully you can deal with all that detail, deal with the nerves, try to have a good time. You deserve it. If you're setting up your own business or if you're going freelance, try to enjoy it. It should be motivating for you as well. And I think a good consultant is flexible and tries to respond to that, because your client knows what the business needs. Your client knows better than you what's going to make their life easier. How does the delivery phase actually work? Do we just say, okay, the deadline's in 2 months, I'll see you in 2 months' time? That's how some people do it. If you had a very rigid specification, you might do it. In my experience, it's not the best way. I do an iterative approach. This word iterative just means going backwards and forwards. If you have a new client, then the client doesn't know how good you are. You might have some recommendations, you might have a good CV, might have a YouTube channel, but the client needs to know that you're going to keep a commitment. Are you reliable? Are you competent? So this first iteration is where you're going to do that. You're going to show you're reliable. You're going to show you can deliver. My approach is pretty flexible because I want the customer to use the file according to current business requirements, business circumstances. Those change over time. So within reason, I will consider additional requirements. Maybe they substitute for something else. So you can say to the customer, listen, we spoke about doing this. We haven't mentioned it for a while. Is this still important? Maybe you can take that out of the project and put the additional requirement into the project. Firstly, if the file needs a lot of ongoing maintenance, then it's probably not that well designed as an Excel file. A well-designed Excel file should be able to cope with changes in business requirements. If the parameters of the problem change, then the client should be able to plug those in. So it shouldn't require a lot of ongoing maintenance. I hope you enjoyed the edited version of your guide to spreadsheet projects. Remember, for the full video, just look in the description below, follow the link, get signed up to the mailing list. I will send you the full video. If you got value out of it, please give it a like, and I'll see you in the next video.